But fear does one other thing that's really serious in our lives. Fear always magnifies the size of the threat. Even creates one when there's not one there. You know, I told you that I'd never seen an armadillo when we moved to Oklahoma. Well, the first time we ever came to Oklahoma, it was in August, and we turned and came east on Highway 412, and there was a dead animal on the side of the road. And as we passed it, my son, who was in the 6th grade, said, "Dad, what was that?" I said, "Well, I think it was an armadillo. You know, I'm from Nebraska. I think it was an armadillo." My son, "Wow, cool. Just like on Wild Kingdom." And within a mile, we passed another one. And I said, "Look at that, there's 2. Mark this on your calendar, 2 exotic dead animals on the side of the road within a mile. You're not going to see this again." Within a quarter mile, there was a 3rd one. So I did what any Nebraskan would do. I pulled over. We all got out to look at it. My son took a picture. And I'm sure that Oklahoma people driving by saw our Nebraska license plate and they go, "Look at that, a Nebraska family having a prayer meeting for the armadillo. No wonder they can't play football anymore." And I'm looking at this thing, and it looks like a little armored personnel carrier with claws. I mean, there were even pieces missing out of this thing, and it looked just scary to me, like something out of Jurassic Park. We drove on, and we bought a house just outside of Tulsa, and the thing that we loved about our house was the beautiful backyard, manicured, lush lawn. Went out there one August morning about 2 years after we moved there, and something had dug hundreds of little holes all over my beautiful backyard. I was absolutely dismayed. I put down my coffee and I walked around and surveyed the damage, and I thought, what creature from hell would do this? That night I got up in the night and I shined the light several times out in the yard, and about the 3rd time I got up, 3 o'clock in the morning, there in the yard was an armadillo. And my blood ran cold. I went out the backyard and I shined the light at it and I said, "Hey!" And it just looked at me and went back to digging holes. Now, folks, where I'm from, if something isn't afraid of you, it means it thinks it can take you. So I got a little closer and I stomped my feet and I said, "Hey!" And it looked up and it turned and ambled off, and I realized, it isn't leaving because it's afraid of me. It's leaving because it's annoyed by me. So that weekend, we went to see my mom up in Iowa. My stepdad had built me a trap to catch the armadillo, a live trap to catch the armadillo. And I brought it home. We got home it was dark, and my wife went into town to get milk, and I went out in the backyard and I'm setting this trap, and I hear a noise and I peer through the darkness to my right, and there is the very creature I'm setting the trap for, and he's just standing there looking at me like, "What are you doing?" So I stand up and I back into the house, and I got goosebumps all over. I'm backing into the house and I go get my son. I said, "Come hold the light. The armadillo's in the yard right now and I'm just going to shoot it." And my son goes, "All right, Dad, let's do this, let's do this." And so we go out in the backyard, and he sweeps the light across the backyard, and the armadillo's still there. It's about 40 feet away. I raise up the rifle, and I fire, and I hit the armadillo right where I was aiming for. And in that moment, something absolutely terrifying happened. Because the armadillo, I'm not making this up. The armadillo did not just fall over dead. The armadillo jumped off the ground this high, hit the ground again, and came back and ran directly at us as fast as it could come. And I'm thinking, holy mackerel, that was a direct hit, and all I did was piss it off. Now it's coming for me. My son dropped the light. He ran around my backside and climbed up and screamed in my ear, "Shoot again, shoot again!" I said, "I can't, I only had one bullet." And so I take the rifle and I'm waving it back and forth thinking I can deflect it and save my leg. And then it gets quiet. I'm thinking that the running thing was one of those things you read about. Go toward the light. I don't know. My son and I are standing there. I told him, go get the light. And he goes, you get the light. So I reached out and I got the light and I shined the light and there's the armadillo. And it has expired. And we're both standing there. I said, don't you tell your mom. He goes, what, that you shot an armadillo? I said, no, that I screamed like a little girl just now. Take the gun inside, I'll take care of the armadillo. So I take the light and I walked up the armadillo and I kick him, and he's dead. So I picked him up by the tail. They're heavy. And in that moment, I had one of my signature bad ideas. I thought, I can use this to scare my wife. After all, she won't be macho like me. She'll really be scared. So I stashed the dead armadillo up by the berm where it couldn't be seen from the house. My wife comes home and I said, why don't you come out and hold the light while I set the trap? Well, I want to catch that thing. Okay. So I lead her out the back door. We turn left. We walk across the deck. I get to the point where I can see down the berm, but she can't. So I go, shh. She goes, what is it? I said, it's right over there. She goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just going to get it. And before she had a chance to respond, I went roaring down the deck like Tarzan, and I grabbed the armadillo by the tail, and I'm going, bam, 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 bam. And my wife is up by the house. She's going, oh, Gary, oh, Gary, oh, Gary. And finally, after 6 or 7 hits, I hold it up in my best John Wayne voice. I say, this is not going to dig any more holes in my yard. And my wife comes across the deck toward me with her face still in her hands, and then she sees the armadillo and she sees the bullet hole and her face changes and she goes, that's been shot! And we had our first incidents of domestic violence when she kicked me right in the pants. Folks, I now know that armadillos are among the most docile and maybe stupid creatures in Oklahoma. But fear had magnified the size of the threat, even created one where there wasn't. It really got a hold of me. The fear, not the armadillo. Fear will magnify the size and the intensity of any opposition that might possibly occur to your attempts to be a change agent leader in your department. Being the kind of leader that you really want to be means courageously facing your own resistance to change in the way you see yourself, possibly seeing yourself as a leader for the first time. No one's going to see you as a leader until you see yourself as one. And the biggest obstacle to you becoming the kind of leader that you want to be is you. Leadership does not begin when you read a John Maxwell book. It begins right here, right now. You want to be the kind of leader that changes lives? You want to create teams out of your people? You want to create high morale, motivation, and productivity in tough times? Be the leader that gives your people purpose, mission, and vision. Model the attitudes that you want them to have and inspire them with a vision for how good it can be to be a part of a team instead of a cog in a machine. Some of you will leave here today and you will have to keep the fire engines clean. And some of you will have to make sure that the cooking schedule gets posted. And some of you will have to make sure the equipment gets put away. But you can all leave here and fight fires as a team. And I hope that you do. Thank you so much for letting me be with you this afternoon.